As we start to approach the draft coming up this Thursday, the biggest question that we have, other than who are we going to draft, is because we all know that we're going to draft a quarterback. But is that quarterback going to be able to actually reunite the fan base? Let's talk about it. And folks, welcome back to another podcast here on the Washington Football Maniacs channel. I'm your host, Greg, and this channel is dedicated to news and commentary for the Washington Commanders. If you're down with that, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. And when you do, also hit that notification bell so you won't miss any other video releases. Hey, if you want to support this channel, you can do it in a couple other ways as well. You can become a channel member, become a Maniac. You'll be privy to a lot of perks and stuff like that as a member. You can also support this channel, which really helps us. The other way you can is by visiting our partners at Mint Mobile, and let's talk about that.
Have you ever thought to yourself, why in the is my wireless cell phone bill so high? What are you paying all of that money for? Well, at Mint Mobile, you can get all of those features for a fraction of the cost. They are built on the nation's largest 5G network, and they keep their costs low because they directly sell to you. Switching to Mint Mobile is so easy. It took me less than 15 minutes using Mint Mobile's eSIMs card. And if you don't have an eSIMs card with your cell phone, just get in touch with Mint Mobile and they'll send you a SIMs card through the mail absolutely free. Big Wireless wants you to think that they are the only game in town, but let's send them packing. Switch to Mint Mobile today. Go to our link down at the bottom in the description. Try mintmobile.com/maniacs to get started today. And get this special offer for new customers. Get any plan on Mint Mobile for $15 a month. That's right, $15 a month for any plan on Mint Mobile, but you gotta act now. Now let's get back into the podcast.
$15 a month for the first 3 months? That's unheard of. Unlimited everything. Visit our link down the bottom to switch to Mint Mobile. You will get started saving right away. So the Commanders, we obviously know that they're going to wind up drafting a quarterback. Whether if they trade down and wind up getting somebody like J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix or even Michael Penix, although I think that's probably a little far out there, they're going to get a quarterback. Now, we feel like it's likely they're going to stick at number 2 and going to wind up getting Jaden Daniels or Drake May. But the biggest question is, will that quarterback, who we hope becomes a franchise quarterback, is he going to be able to be strong and successful enough to unite this fan base? Because let's face it, even though Dan Snyder is long gone, we have a better ownership group running things now. We got a better front office running things better now. The business side looks like it's going to start improving and picking up. There's still a little bit of prove it to me, because there's still a quite honestly a great deal of the fan base that is still disgruntled, and they're not going to be happy until they see this team winning on a consistent basis, making the postseason on a consistent basis, and really giving them a reason to start throwing the hard-earned money down on the table for merchandise, for games, and that sort of thing. And I get all of that. I understand that perfectly. But we know that the last quarterback that we felt kind of united everybody, maybe the last 2 quarterbacks that kind of united everybody, Robert Griffin III and Kirk Cousins. Those 2 guys play pretty well, but maybe Robert Griffin III on a different level, because he had such an electrifying rookie season. Everybody was singing the praises of RG3. Everybody felt like we have finally found our franchise quarterback after all these years, decades, we finally found our franchise quarterback in Robert Griffin III, and he was going to be this new exciting face of the franchise. And then, of course, he got hurt, came back the next year, was never the same again, and then after a couple of more seasons, he was out of Washington. Kirk Cousins came in, played pretty well. I would not really say perhaps that he was necessarily a quarterback that really brought the whole Commanders, or at that time Redskins, fans together, because there was quite a few fans who didn't like him, who said he's nothing but a stat patter. He's not really any better than anybody else we've ever had. And the Commanders, or the Redskins back then, only made it to the playoffs once with Kirk Cousins. They came close a couple of times, but close but no cigar. But yet he always played really well, had great stats. But the knock on him was he could never really shine during prime time. And that was even true for him after he left and went to the Vikings. And so Kirk Cousins probably not the best. Honestly, I would probably say the RG3 was the last quarterback to really, where the majority of the fans were able to get behind him and really root for him, especially in that first season. But it was short-lived. And so now we're looking at a new quarterback coming to town this year. It's likely going to be either Jaden Daniels or Drake May. Now the question is, which one of these guys would be better with uniting this fan base? Is it Daniels or is it May? There's been what I consider more of a vocal majority for Drake or Daniels, Jaden Daniels, because of certainly people have seen his highlights. They feel like that he is more NFL ready than Drake May. He's more exciting to watch, and he certainly is. He's got shades of RG3, and that's not a put down with him. RG3 was very exciting to see, but yet I think he's a better passer than what Robert Griffin was, and so I can see why a lot of people are very excited to see him. But there's also a lot of the fan base that doesn't want Jaden Daniels. They want Drake May because they feel like he's the higher seat. He's got the higher ceiling, that he may start off a little bit slower, but he's going to prove to be a quarterback that's going to be a franchise guy for years to come. They have compared him to Josh Allen, and so they feel like he's ultimately going to be the franchise quarterback and should be the franchise quarterback. And then, of course, you're going to have fans, and I've seen this on social media, that's made it about race. There was one fan on social media that was referring to Jaden Daniels as the new Black King and stuff like that, and I honestly don't understand why we're throwing race into this. Others wanted Drake May because they really can't stand to see a black quarterback, and they really want the white quarterback to be able to continue to be successful. And I understand that I'm not trying to get political, not trying to get controversial on this channel as all, but there is call it a flaw, but just call it like it is. There's a sense with people of certain cultures, of any culture really, that they tend to feel more comfortable around their own. Everybody's like that. Well, if you're black or you're white or Asian, you feel more comfortable, you feel more in the community with people that are like-minded, that look like you and things like that, because there's a comfort there. You feel like there's a sanctuary, so to speak. And so whenever you watch sports, then that kind of starts to leak into sports as well. You tend to want to support the player that looks more like you for various reasons. I've always been, I've watched sports and I've always rooted for these players no matter what their color was. Art Monk was my favorite player along with John Riggins when I was growing up. Of course, one white player, one black player. Um, and I loved it when Doug Williams won us that Super Bowl. I did not really ever even cross my minds of like, man, I really would rather have Jay Schrader because well, he's one of us. Never thought that. Hated. Well, hate's a strong word. I disliked Jay Schrader after a while, especially in '87 because he just was so inconsistent. He just did not perform well at times, and I felt Doug Williams was always the better quarterback, and I was happy when Doug Williams started in the playoffs, and of course ultimately won us the Super Bowl. So I just, with all of that, I don't really. I hope that people on both ends of the spectrum really start to look past the skin and really look at how's this player going to be on the field. How are they going to be as a character, as a person? That's the other thing too. Will either one of these quarterbacks be great citizens? Will be or present themselves as someone that you feel okay for your child to look up to, because children who love football, they really look at these guys as like bigger than life, right? And they look up to these guys. They think of them as supermen, and so you want them to be able to admire these players because of the content of their character, not because of the color of their skin and or anything like that. And so I just hope that whoever that we do draft understands that they have a lot of responsibility. It's not just hopefully winning Super Bowls for the Commanders, but it's uniting a very fractured and divided fan base that's been that way for years, thanks to Dan Snyder. And as Joe Gibbs said in past interviews, the one thing that united Washington were the Redskins, was the football team. And so we have to be able to get that back. And so I'm telling you straight up, folks, I am going to support 110% whoever Adam Peters, Dan Quinn drafts for our next quarterback. If it's Jaden Daniels, if it's Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, whoever it is, I'm going to support that quarterback 100% because I want that guy to not just be a great player for the franchise, but I want him to be a leader. I want him to present himself as a leader, and I want him to be a unifying figure. Someone who supports all of the communities in the area that they play. Everybody. I think it's time that we get back to trying to look for ways to unify each other and less about trying to divide each other by paying attention to skin color. And so I hope that this is not a video that's going to upset anybody, but a video that's going to encourage folks to look past all of that, to really focus on the player's heart and what all he gives to the team, how he gives back to the community, and all of that. I'm going to support that guy. I'm not going to support anybody who is rooting for a draftee because of the color of his skin. That's just point blank. Folks, if you enjoyed this channel, or if you enjoyed this video, I know you're enjoying the channel, but if you're enjoying the video, please give it a like, share it with other folks, and let me know what you think. Don't be too upset. Think before you post, but just realize where I'm coming from with this. I absolutely have no favorite as far as a quarterback. I know a lot of people do. I don't. I just want him to be the greatest quarterback this franchise has ever seen, and I want us to win multiple Super Bowls. Is that too much to ask for? Hopefully not. All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. And with that said, I will see you in the next one.